anyone know this term, like freedom equals discipline? Who has heard? Yeah, thank you, Johnny. I have oops, I didn't see this one. I have also been following Johnny actually since the very beginning, and yeah, it's exciting to be here today on the stage and sharing my story of yeah, how I built the Nomad cruise and how I did it while I was traveling the world. So before we start, just one question. Who has been on the Nomad cruise? Anyone here? Okay. And who knows about it? Who has heard about it before? Okay, cool. That's awesome. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know about it, basically I will start a little bit with the end. And so about 1 year ago, we had one cruise. These are approximately 494 people. And yeah, we met and we traveled from Barcelona to Brazil, across the Atlantic. We had a conference, we connected, we had a lot of deep conversations. And afterwards, a lot of these people met all over the world. And actually, I think right now in Chiang Mai, there are about 50 of them here, there are 50 in Bali. They are all over the world. And yeah, there's obviously a story to how I did this, and we met basically on this boat. This was the boat where we went across, and today I want to share with you how I started, how I built the community, what I learned from doing this while I was traveling the world. I think not everything applies to every type of business. If you're doing e-commerce, there are some things that you don't really need in this one. But yeah, so I just want to share my main and most important learnings. So basically, the story started actually in Cape Town. I was studying in Cape Town, and I just wanted to live there because I met a girl there, we got engaged, and I wanted to do everything to just be living in Cape Town. So I had a job, I made $500 a month, working in tourism, and I knew this is never gonna make me in any way happy. It's very, very hard to make any living in South Africa. So basically the only way how you can do it is if you kind of find your own way to build a business. And so I was looking, I was researching for a lot of ideas, and this was in 2007, and yeah, someone wrote a book in this time, and there was Tim Ferriss who wrote The 4-Hour Workweek. And I stumbled across this book, I read it, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. So I can actually build an online business, and I didn't think about traveling the world, I just wanted to be in Cape Town. And I can actually build an online business, and yeah, and then this can support me living in Cape Town. What is really, really important here with the future is that I built the first steps while I was living in South Africa and not while I was traveling. And actually what I did is, so I didn't just start my passion project. I didn't really believe that now I can do this. There were like so many things that I didn't know. I didn't even know how to make a website or anything. So I got paid to learn. And my first job was, I was a virtual assistant. I worked for $8 an hour, supporting Swiss companies. And but actually, eventually, I put on more skills. I learned about online marketing, and I tried a lot of things. And oftentimes we start, we have some kind of job, and then we want to get into this space, and we don't really get paid to learn. We don't work for anyone else. There are two benefits. The one is, that you're making money, and the other one is that you're working for people who know a lot more about business than you. So maybe instead of wasting 1 year, you have someone that you can just ask a question that would be like, well, this is not a good idea, it doesn't provide any value, and there are a lot of really key learnings. So if there's any advice for those of you who are a little bit unsure how to start, I think that this is really, really important. Get yourself a job, get with someone who's much smarter than you, who can give you some advice. So I got paid to install the first WordPress website. That led to me exploring digital marketing, doing ads. And then I thought, I want to try this 4-hour work week thing, but I didn't have any product. And then I remembered, my mom, she had a depression for 7 years. And I thought maybe I can help her, because in her depression she drew some cards that make her feel better. Basically all the key learnings that she had from therapy. And one of her therapists saw these cards. This is how they looked. And one of her therapists saw these cards, and they were, as you can see, it's really simple. Every child could draw these cards, but the messages in these cards are really, really important. And she's actually a real artist, and she makes really beautiful pictures, but she just drew these cards while she was depressed. And so I knew about these cards, and I was like, okay, Mom, let me help you to try to promote these cards a little bit on the internet. And basically what I did was that I used this hack from Tim Ferriss. I used Google AdWords to try to make them a little bit to promote them on AdWords, because I didn't know much about SEO at this time. And I made one sale, and I installed some tracking. Then I made another sale. Then I got really excited about AdWords and marketing, and I dove full into it. Really, another very important tip: focus on one skill, learn this really, really good. And what I can tell you now is that without these cards, there would be no Nomad cruise. And I built this up in 1 year. Then we kind of partnered up. I partnered up with my mom. I did everything. Well, basically, the end is that we have sold over 3 million euros. For over 3 million euros over the last 10 years, we have sold these cards. Thousands of therapists are using them in therapy. And this was all just basically built on AdWords. And without this, so now, without this, my mom is happy. She's running her little online business. She makes more passive income than most other people who dream about this, and she doesn't even know what is Google Analytics or anything. And she travels the world. She likes to go on vacations, and and it has helped me to start my passion business. What happened after this, basically this started to work, and what happened then is that I started, the thing in Cape Town didn't work out, the relationship, and I was like, well, now I have an online business, I have some kind of passive income with these cards, this is working, I don't need to talk to my clients every day, I did some online marketing at the same time, and I can just, go and travel the world because the relationship didn't work out. So what did I do? And I didn't want to go back to Germany, so I started to travel and do this thing. And basically, this picture pretty much shows exactly what it was like for me at that time, because you are in beautiful places and you are by yourself, right? So that was, this picture was from 2012, and I was just like, I like this lifestyle, and obviously you meet a lot of people when you're traveling, but there were no nomads. I met 5 nomads in the first, let's say, 2 years. Now this place is becoming really famous, actually. Johnny is going here to Sri Lanka. This is in Unawatuna, very close to the place where he's going to go after the conference, but at that time there were not many young people there. So I was thinking, okay, what can I do what can I do to promote this lifestyle a bit more, because it's really, really awesome. And I was thinking, there will be more people in the future who are going to do this. So I took this picture. Obviously, I never worked like this. And I walked down from the dark room, which was just up here where you can see the shade. I took this picture. I wrote an ebook, actually, with the coolest places to travel around the world. You can see this on Web Work Travel. So I started to write about this. And another thing that I did then later was that yeah, I was looking for a Facebook group or something where I can connect to other people, and I found out that there's this term, digital nomad, for what I had been doing already for over a year. And there was no Facebook group. There was no Facebook group for digital nomads. So I thought, why is there nothing like this? Okay, then let me create it. So I started a Facebook group. Now it's called Global Digital Nomad Network. This was the first Facebook group. I invited people who had bought my ebook, and yeah, this is the foundation of the cruise. I was very active there. We connected all online, and we did, yeah, so we started this, and I was very, very active there. And I think that this is a key thing that a lot of us should keep in mind here, that before oftentimes we start a successful business, there has to be something like a community. And if you're thinking like, oh, I'm gonna do this affiliate marketing retreat somewhere in the mountains, if you have not built a community before you're announcing this retreat, it might be the most amazing idea. It's very, very likely that it's gonna fail, because the first people who will come to your event are usually the people that you have connected with, and they're the ones that you need to build social proof and all these things. So with a lot of types of businesses, it's super important that we build our community first. So that's what I did. And I organized my first meetups, and I wanted to then connect to people. What do you think? Now, there was like a big Facebook group, a fan page, and I put up like, yeah, let's meet. I had like 200 fans in Budapest. And what do you think? How many people are coming to the first meetup that you organize? Two. Me. Okay. So, yeah, so we met, Zoltan and me. And I took this picture because I thought, you know, maybe one day I can show this somewhere. But yeah, so we met in Budapest, and actually this guy that I met there, he was the main reason why now we have Bori as one of the main people on the stage at Nomad Cruise, because he kind of made the introduction. He told me like, yeah, there's like a famous travel blogger in Hungary here. She's doing a workshop tomorrow. And so even your first meetups, they can be something that is really, really important, right? And I was like, okay, well, I'll just try it again. I'll see whatever is happening. So I organized a little bit more. I actually started to speak at some conferences in Germany at this time. This started to be a bit bigger in Germany as well. And yeah, and I organized more meetups. One thing really, really important if you want to build community is that you need to give without asking anything for return. So I did not say like, oh, now you can come to my first Nomad meetup, it's $10 or whatever. I need those people to do whatever I want to do in the future as much as they need me to connect them, right? So I started to just organize meetups. I invited people to Tarifa, where I had been like spending a lot of my Nomad days. And like here you can see on the right, Stella. Now we have, at that time we just knew each other for like 4 months. Now we have 1,500 common Facebook friends. About 4 or 5 years later, there's Feli and Markus from DNX, Conny Bisalski. They were all there in the beginning, and we all met in the very beginning. They're quite famous in the German Nomad scene as well. So yeah, I organized these meetups, and I was like, yeah, I'm onto something here, but I don't know what to do. And one key thing also when we are with passion projects is, now it's not working. Okay. I will just say be patient. Yeah, so be patient. We need to be patient with whatever we are doing, especially if we are building something, you know, sometimes we are passionate about. It's a little bit contradictory, because also I think that if we start some kind of passion project, like what I did there, the first thing that we need to do also is to make a little bit of money so that we can grow it. So I was very comfortable with these cards that I had built, that I could just play around and do whatever I want. But in general, patience is one of the most important things, because you know, I see so many people launching their retreats, and then they announce it once, then there's like no feedback, nothing, and then you never hear it again. Like, what do you expect if you just post your website once and then no one is coming? Like, you need to do a little bit more things, and you just don't give up, but also a little bit of patience. If you believe really in what you're doing, you know, change. Sometimes little things can work. The other thing is that we also really need to start lean, because sometimes if you have a good idea, you don't really need a good website. You can, you know, just share your ideas and do things like this. And this brings me to the next slide, because one day I saw an announcement for a really, really cheap cruise, and I thought it was going across the Atlantic, something like what we did last year. And I saw this and I was like, hey, this is a really cool idea. I could basically get a lot of people on a cruise ship, and we can just connect, we can meet each other, we can talk to each other, and then when we arrive in Brazil, we're gonna have a network where we can, you know, where we can connect and travel together. Because my main problem when I was traveling alone was always, of course, I wasn't alone when I was traveling all the time. What I basically did is that I just went to couch surfing meetups, and after 3-4 weeks, I had some nice friends, and I was like, I actually did this in Brazil, like before I went on this cruise. And but it just takes time, and it's like so exhausting. Like, you're building 3-4 weeks to get into this like nice mode where when you're in a new city, and then you have another, let's say, a month or 2 months, and then your visa runs out. Then you need to start the same stuff again, right? That's why you're all coming back to Chiang Mai every year, because you know you have your people here, right? So I thought, okay, why not just that we all meet on the cruise ship, and then we have all our network in South America, and now we can go to Buenos Aires or wherever other places afterwards. That's what I saw when I saw the cruise, because I had experienced this other part before. So I just posted this. At this time, there were not many other Nomad events or Nomad places, even though it was just only a few years ago. And because I had built up all this community and done all these things before, this idea really took off. And what happened was that 5 months later, after this post and a few more, you know, like Facebook events, we ended up on this cruise ship. And yeah, so it was just really a basic idea. There was not much that I needed to do for marketing, but I had built all these connections and everything for 4 years in advance. And what we had here is just that I asked my friend, come, let's design a nice logo, let's put it there. So we have a little bit of a proof of concept that we actually went. And 1 week before the cruise, we came up with the idea, let's call this Nomad Cruise. But the whole thing was, organizational-wise, a disaster, right? It was just me, myself. How can you organize, you know, like a nice event? And it's like similar to, like, you know, when Johnny started out, it was all like, yeah, let's just meet up, let's just do this Nomad Summit. You take the very cheapest room where you can meet. So you get everyone together, but then how can you sustain these types of events? So the first one, it was just me doing this. We had an amazing time, but we just met, you know, in the restaurants to do our workshops there. We didn't have our own conference room, nothing, but it was just fun to, you know, experience this together. And everyone really liked this. One thing I want to add here is that I was really, really scared when I got on the ship, because I knew like 10 people. I had met this cruise ship company before. They were not very friendly to me. And they were like, oh, who are all these? Like, do you know all these people who are coming there? I was like, no. And and yeah, so they thought I was really crazy. They didn't get the whole idea. And yeah, but we were going to come with 100 people on their ship. So I was really scared. And there have been many, many other times when I was really scared. I was really scared before the cruise when we went with 500 people. And this brings me to my next point, because I think that oftentimes we are really scared, but we should do this anyways, right? We need to do these steps, and sometimes you do it and then you're like, oh, it's not that bad, you know? The second cruise I organized with 200 people, it was still a little bit of a disaster organizational-wise, because I thought, oh, I did the first one by myself, I can do the second one maybe with one person helping me. Yeah, you know, so then I thought, okay, maybe I'm a little bit naive and I need to change a few things here and there, but you know, always push yourself a little bit. The last 3 weeks, 1 month ago, we arrived in Dubai with another cruise, and at the same time we had another cruise that was going to Brazil. So basically we had to split our teams. I was very scared to do this. Now I know we can do it, and we can do this again, and I know we can do a cruise with 1,000 people. I will be scared again to do this, but I feel comfortable to take this step, right? And let's just all try to be a bit more, you know, to try a little bit more. And oftentimes you will see that in the end it's all not really that bad, okay? There's another thing really important when you're starting any type of business. You need to treat your first customers really, really well. They are the ones who can be, you know, your biggest promoters, and it's really, really important that they are the first ones where you really build these connections. Now when we have 500 people on the cruise, I cannot talk to everyone anymore, but the first people, let's say like the first 150 people, I really connected very well. I met them, and they have been the ones who really have pushed the cruise in the past then to the new level. We organized meetups around the world. We did a lot more. You know, we celebrated New Year's Eve in Rio de Janeiro. So we did so many things more where no one was really giving without asking for return. Treat your customers in that sense. It's really, really important. But of course, now we're coming a little bit more to the location-independent traveling part. The thing is that this I had all built to that point by myself, and I was really lucky to have these cards, which were just running like a 4-hour work week job, right? I didn't have so much to do, it was just running. Did not really grow it, I have to say. You know, while I was traveling, I was then really all in for the cruise. And so how do you do this when you want to still continue to travel, and when you want to grow this and you want to, you know, make a better conference, get more speakers on board, provide more value, share all these things? Yeah, you can't do it alone, and you need to learn to lead. And this is one thing that I think is so important for all of us to learn tomorrow if we're not doing it. If you don't have anyone who's helping you with your work, like if you don't even have a virtual assistant, you have to get one. Because the thing is, it's not even about the virtual assistant, it's not about even letting anyone help you, it's about that you need to learn to delegate your work. How can you ever be free or, you know, do whatever you can if you're still doing everything by yourself? Find someone, even if they work for, you know, $5 an hour or less, but find someone who can help you with your work. There are, you know, just research on the internet how to use virtual assistants, but what you're not learning is you're not just learning delegation, you're also learning how to be a leader and how to lead a team, and then try to find another person. So this cruise, all these things, and I mean also this Nomad Summit, Johnny would not be able to do this by himself, and we all need to learn how to become good leaders, and if we're not learning it, then we're going to fail. Then we're going to fail as soon as our projects are growing, because this is the first problem that we're going to have when our team is not doing the work that we're doing, or when we get upset and we think like it's all their fault, but actually it's our fault because we did not delegate right. So many times we are doing things and we are like leading our team, and later on we will understand that the reason why things were not running well was because we did not do the right job. So learning about leadership is basically the thing that can allow you to travel the world how you want. If you have a team, you can even run a barbershop in Germany, because with all the tools that we have these days, you can maintain this, and all you need to do is you need to make enough money to be able to hire like a CEO or a manager who can run your company, and you can run anything from anywhere in the world. So this is one key thing for traveling. The other key thing is more about yourself. And I will take something here from Jocko Willink. Does anyone know this term, like freedom equals discipline? Who has heard about this? Okay. I think this is so important. The thing is that, I mean, we are all kind of driven by freedom, and we want to go to Chiang Mai, or we want to go to Bali, we want to live in a nice villa and do all these things that we can't really afford, that we wouldn't be able to afford in New York City. But the thing is, like, with everything we're doing, we cannot maintain this lifestyle. We are just, we're just trying to take the shortcut. Or now Chiang Mai is becoming more expensive, so we're all going to Vietnam because there's this new place and it's even cheaper than Chiang Mai, right? So that's not the right way to do it. You should start in Chiang Mai and then you should go to other places that are more expensive. And you should basically build up your business in the way, to do this. Research this. If you do not understand this freedom equals discipline, learn about this. It's super important, and I am still learning about this. I'm not always the most disciplined person, but one tip for this is like that you need to develop a schedule and habits that allow you to be productive anywhere. What I mean with this is, if a big problem with traveling is that oftentimes we are waking up at 7 o'clock. Now we fly to Bali, and our whole schedule changes, and maybe we're not waking up at 7 o'clock anymore, because a lot of the habits that we have are actually attached to places. So the place where you are, this is how you live your life. Once you go back to your hometown, like, oh, on Tuesday I play basketball, I do these things. And so it's really, really important that we make ourselves clear that we have a schedule. On Tuesday we go to the gym. It doesn't matter if I'm in Chiang Mai, Bali, Buenos Aires. I wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't matter where in the world I am. Or even if we know that now the time zone is so nice here, because here you can sleep so long until they wake up in Europe. But that's not really discipline, right? So learn about this. There's a book called Atomic Habits. It's really, really good about building habits. Keep a schedule. Think about can I run my week the same way I'm running it in Chiang Mai? How can I run it anywhere in the world? And these systems and processes, they will actually lead you to your goals. Okay? Another thing, I think, and now this is more about, so this is about how you keep your schedule, but now how do you travel? One thing I learned very, very early in my days of traveling was, because I'm more like a backpacker. I was here in Chiang Mai actually 14 years ago, and at that time all the backpackers were telling me like, hey, just Chiang Mai is boring, just go to Pai, go straight to Pai. So I went straight to Pai. I didn't even check out here the city. I didn't need to work, so I just wanted to see, different places. But I always really loved to travel, and that's what I thought that when I started the business, I thought that I can do this. I need some ways. Now I can just travel, go to different places, and I was just researching a little bit the internet, and then every week I went to a new place. The one thing that we really need to make even though we enjoy this, any type of research you're doing about going to a new place takes a lot of your mental energy. And you can use that mental energy also when you're working. So the problem is that when you go to Buenos Aires and then 2 weeks later you go to Chile and then you travel overland to Bolivia, all the time you need to do all this research, you need to make decisions. All these decisions, all this energy that you are using here is something that you can otherwise put into work, because we all have like a limited amount of energy. So let's try to use it, a little bit more efficiently. And that's why I really, really believe that if we want to build any type of good business, it's that we want to that we want to do this in a way that we at least stay 1 month in each location where we're going, and that we have some kind of routine of what we're going to do in the first 2 days when we arrive, like getting the SIM card, learning how the local transport system works, figuring out the apartment in the first 2 days, that we don't need to worry about this, and then really that we're able to do some work after 3 days when we get there. There are many different ways how you can do it, but like really this traveling slow is super important. So what is one cool way of traveling slow and really enjoying this? For me, this is kite surfing. I love to go to different places around the world and just go kiting. It's amazing. I can do this in the morning. The wind picks up at 3:30, 4 o'clock, for example, in Cape Town, where I still return many years. And this is in the Dominican Republic in July last year. And I can work, and then in the afternoon I do basically 2 hours workout in beautiful places next to palm trees. And I just really enjoy this, and I have this nice balance. You don't need to start kite surfing. You should, but you don't need to. But you can think about what are things that I want to do when I go to different places. What are things that I want to experience? Maybe you want to get into diving, but just something that, you know, can be a routine. Surfing. It can also just be going to the biggest acro yoga communities around the world, and, you know, being in this community. Just it's not just about the sport. It's actually also about connecting to community. The kitesurfing community is very similar to the Nomad community. They just hang out in different places around the world. But once you're in this community, you will meet your friends in Cape Town in January, and in Tarifa in April, and I can tell you the whole, you know, kitesurfing schedule. Actually, my first book, my first travel guide for people who work online, which was also the foundation, I got the idea because I was traveling with a kitesurfing worldwide guide, which just told me about the best destination for kiting. What I want to say here is travel with purpose. Think about something that you want to do for 1 or 2 months in a place. It can be also to connect, you know, to go to Bali and do these things. Whatever you wanna, you know, whatever you wanna do, have some goal that you have for each place that you visit. Another really important thing, because I know maybe one day we want to find a home, right? We want to settle somewhere. So after we've been traveling around a bit, we also think like, oh, okay, maybe I want to live somewhere. I was at this stage a lot, like over the last 2 years, where I was thinking, okay, maybe I need some kind of home base, but then I really like this traveling. Anyways, so my suggestion for this is spend your time in places where you can imagine to spend your future, right? So you could travel half of the year with purpose while building your business in beautiful places around the world, and maybe the other half of the year you just go to places where you think like, oh, maybe one day I want to live in Florida. Maybe one day I want to live in Mallorca. That's where I went, and that's where I now have my base. It's the best connected place in Europe. It has beautiful beaches. I can be anywhere in Europe where I want to be. So it's not my favorite place in the world, but it's really something where I think, you know, I want to meet people here, I want to build my connections, and that's why I moved there. This really depends also, and also like I have my family coming there, so it really depends where these places are. If you're from the States, you might not want to spend your time in Mallorca, but you want to maybe look into Costa Rica or other places that are really nice, you know, where you have an infrastructure, where you can build your friendships, so, and where you can also have your routine, which is also really important, right? So if you're not just traveling for fun, think about, you know, at least spending a part of your year in places where you could imagine to come back next year. I mean, a lot of us nomads basically jump between places that we really love, but the thing is, I mean, if you're from the US and you're going here to Chiang Mai and you have all these time zone struggles, maybe it's not like the most sustainable way that we are gonna end up be living here one day. I don't really know. I think everyone has to answer this question for themselves, but it's one way I think that we could travel as well. Last thing. So, we take our time, be in love with the process and not the goal. What I want to say here is that I have big plans for Nomad Cruise and for the community and everything that we're doing, but I'm also realistic. Maybe in 1 year there will be no more Nomad Cruise, okay? So maybe things are changing, right? Like there's other competition, there's someone who does something that is way more amazing than what you're doing. Your whole community moves over there. You know, all these things can happen. Maybe after 7 years you're not even interested in the business that you were so passionate about when you started it. There's a saying that, you know, every 7 years we are changing our life completely. So what I want to say here is that whatever we are building, I think in the beginning we need to really focus on building skills, because these skills like online marketing, delegation, building a team, you cannot go around this. We all need to learn this. If it's fun or not fun, the more skills you have, the more chances are that one day you get lucky with some kind of project, because you basically just put together all your skills and you know now the time is right to do something. But what I think is also really important, and this is what this Nomad lifestyle also really allows us to do, is that we can really enjoy building this business. And we should not always look, you know, maybe I'm gonna, you know, move to Rio and then I'll be happy or whatever. You know, let's try to really enjoy what we're doing here and enjoy this life, what we're doing right now. We can have our goals, but we really should enjoy this, because especially when you build your own business, you really never know what is gonna happen next and how things are coming. So that's my final message for you, and I hope you got a little bit of value out of this. Thank you.
Thanks, Johannes. Who wants to go on the Nomad
Just
cruise?
one last thing, last thing. So guys, if you want to learn a little bit more about Nomad Cruise, there's a website, there's an Instagram account. If you want to connect to me, you can find me also on Instagram. And we actually have another cruise in April going from the Caribbean to Lisbon. If you want to experience something really awesome, come talk to me. Anyways, you can find all information on the website. Thank you.
Sounds amazing. We have time for a few questions. Just raise your hand and we'll run a mic over to you if you've got a question.
Hi, it's me again. I'm Jerry. So I wrote this down. So yeah, great talk. I had no idea about like your backstory before Nomad Cruise. I've been through depression myself as well, so I know how bad it can actually get. I was on Nomad Cruise 5 and it was actually great. My question, you mentioned about hiring a team and virtual assistants. So I was wondering, you said you built a lot of Nomad Cruise yourself. Did you find another Nomad to join you, or did you seek out a specific virtual assistant? Because I've realized from your talk that that's something I need to actually do as well.
So Nomad Cruise basically is built by people who joined Nomad Cruise. We are all, the entire team is only people who came on the cruise, who did something really cool and what I liked, and then they became part of the team. And there was not even, there's someone who helps us a bit with YouTube. She has not been there, but everyone else was like this,
Oh, so they had a vested interest.
So one thing about hiring is that you need to hire people who are really, really passionate about what you do. And I guess the best proof is that you have someone who comes on your cruise, and you know, like, people can learn everything, but if they don't have this intrinsic motivation, or they're just doing it for the money, then they're probably not the right people. Really depends though on what type of project you have, right? So if it's not the most exciting, like not like a experience thing, but you know, there's so many places where you can find people to work, and they all need to learn their skills. So yeah.
Thanks.
What I would suggest is just to go on YouTube, type hire virtual assistant, and listen to whatever YouTube shows you for 5 hours, and then okay, I'm gonna do it.
Any other questions? No? Go. Yep.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Travis. Speaking on with the virtual assistants, and I know you also emphasize starting lean, do you put those two together, or do you kind of wait after your start is, a little more hefty before you go into the virtual assistant hiring, or are you trying to incorporate into that lean start?
So my biggest mistake, I can tell you, is that for these cards, I never really got anyone like a virtual assistant. I was doing all the key things for myself, and we have some people who help us like with the production and sending out. And after a while, like even though it's still running, but I lost complete interest in the project because I was not so passionate about it. But what I should have done is I should have, before I do more with this or like start the next project, I should always like just basically finish it in the way that now I have some people who are taking care of my processes. Like if you have a business, there are usually like 8 things that are really, really important, and like finance or like the marketing, and a lot of like, you have like around 8 things that really make a difference. And you want to have some people who basically take care of these processes without you being there. And I didn't really do this for these cards, and then I got full into the cruise, and this was always taking full my attention. So it's very hard. I actually want to go back, and there are like a few things I need to tweak, but it was my biggest mistake as well that I didn't do this. That's why I wanted to focus so much on that. You need to do this if you're not doing it.
All right. Any more questions? All right. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you.